What's up, everybody? We're back. We have a guest.
Mr. Paul Winterhalter.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say I thought it'd be cool to have Paul on because he's got such a unique background, and actually his current situation is unique, given that we're based in Southern California and he's originally from the East Coast. But I mean, we can get into all that. But if we
where are you from?
Yeah, originally from Massachusetts, so South Coast, Mass, Dartmouth. Yeah, it's pretty close to Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of right along the coast there.
I thought Paul would be super interesting. I've always been enamored and recognizing what an enigma like Dartmouth was.
Yeah.
And I know it's a long time ago for you, but the fact that you were brought up in that program under Tom Aungst, and the fact that you ended up on the West Coast.
It's pretty random.
Yeah, and now working for Yamaha, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
But
so what's your background musically? Like, give me the started.
Started in fourth grade, went into middle school, did some parades, nothing crazy, and then high school got into the more competitive marching band kind of thing.
And what was your instrument, like, of choice? Was it just rudimental drumming?
Rudimental drumming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drum set in there?
Not as much as I would have liked to.
actually, can you talk a little bit about the curriculum? Because when you say parades, and what did you say? Fourth grade?
Fourth grade, yeah. So I guess that's
because you're still under Tom Aungst at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which this is the part that's super fascinating for me, and I think anybody on the West Coast is that if you're into the marching arts and you're into the whole indoor thing.
Yep.
And Dartmouth just comes to play every year, and realizing that if you're in fourth grade, you have Tom Aungst as your instructor all the way through
until you
high school graduation.
Yeah,
and that is such an anomaly and a unique thing in this activity.
It's like a beautiful indoctrination or something.
It's
like you just get wonderfully brainwashed into the whole his way of looking at things.
Yeah, Tom has a few ways to explain it, but he'll usually say if you like him, it's a good thing. If you don't, it's a bad thing, because then you're stuck with him for like 8 years. Good thing most of the students usually end up liking him. So
that's cool.
There's no problem there.
It's great to be polarizing, right?
Yeah,
it's a dictatorship.
Yeah. No, so he really kind of special situation that he's built through the years is he gets the students in fourth grade. And they can kind of choose their instrument at that time. And, when they choose percussion, it's kind of under him. So at the time I was there was 4 or 5 elementary schools that fed into one middle school. And then obviously that one middle school feeds into one high school. So already there, it's such a different thing than what California has, right? You talk about or even like Texas, right? You talk about Texas has like 10 middle schools that feed into like 5 high schools. It's just very different. It's very kind of a smaller town kind of feel, and I think he kind of uses that to his advantage. So like I said, his students come in fourth grade, they choose percussion. A lot of kids don't normally stay because then they figure out, how much the band practices, and they say, well, I want to play football, and they're going to go and do that thing. So but the kids that do stay, like I said, go all the way through middle school with him, all the way through high school. And then at that time in middle school, he usually jokes and says, yeah, you're going to be my snare drummer. You're going to be my center snare drummer in 5 years. So then he starts to kind of groom them. And, they do percussion ensemble. They do concert band and all that sort of stuff, too. So he's in there in the trenches all throughout.
Does he become like your drum dad?
He is. Yeah, in a lot of ways. You see him more than you see your parents, man. It's
crazy. What's fourth grade? 8 years old? 7?
Gotta be,
9.
Nine.
9.
Yeah. So you see him more than you see your parents, especially when you get into the high school. It's like, all right.
Right. So just to go back a little bit, when you said, I did some parades when I was in fourth grade, the context is completely different than if I said I did some parades in fourth grade. Because
it's
Tom
not a
Aungst
drum on your knee.
Yeah.
The world champion, percussion god of the 90s is, he's my teacher.
We were actually joking because a lot of the people and the parents don't really know they know Tom, right? Oh yeah, okay, the band's been really good. They know him, and they kind of brush it off because they're familiar with him, but they don't know Tom like we know Tom Aungst. Right?
What year were you in fourth grade? What year is this? Put it in perspective.
So 2006 was my freshman year. So 5, 4, 3 is like 2002 maybe.
Okay, yeah.
2001.
Yeah, because I got into Tom's stuff, like I guess everybody did in '89.
Yep.
With the Les Mis book, just blew my mind. Never heard anything like it. It's like the guy was just saving it up, knowing that he would get that job at some point, and just unleashed the beast. And it was amazing.
And how would you describe his like overall aesthetic?
I don't even know. He's if I had to put a word to it, I know it's music, but I'd say it's geometrical.
Oh,
is how I hear it.
But now when I translate that into drummers, the first name that comes to mind is Chad Wackerman. Is there any relation to that sort of lots of hemiolas and kind of angular?
I don't know if I wouldn't put him into hemiola land, but angular, yeah, but not obnoxiously. Like he's
Are you saying Chad Wackerman's obnoxious?
No, just because when you say somebody's angular, I think he's angular when he's allowed to be.
Okay.
Like he's written some of the smoothest stuff out there.
Okay.
And he just has a way. I don't know. I can't.
Well, it's funny you say that because kind of how my mind works, having gone through playing all his books those years, is like, okay, by the time I was a senior in high school, I was a center snare, the drum line, and you get the book for indoor. It's like this time of the season, right? They get the music, he's writing it, and we're with the snare tech, and then he comes in and brings the new, like the closer, right? Here's the closer snares. Can we, let's start learning this? Mm-hmm. And by the time you're a senior, it's like you're not even, it's like reading a book, right? You're not like, and then the tree. It's like, okay, I'm just reading. So you get the music, and it's like natural. So
it's like a language that you learn?
Yeah, it is.
Aren't some of the symbols in like Japanese and Chinese, like they're kind of represent phrases in a way?
Right.
Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, I would say that's a good reference. Not that I could speak Japanese or Chinese, but
I remember
you're all fluent in Mandarin.
Yeah.
I was with some friends of mine. This is in 93 maybe, and they had some of the music laying around, and it was maybe just because of where I came from mentally, just in the way I write and the books that I played. I was a student of God, I can't speak right.
I'm a student.
Too much coffee. A student of Hardiman at that point.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I could read his books well, and like I knew what was happening. I could see the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I got in front of an Aungst book, and those paradiddle patterns and the way he would write and everything. This is my perception back then, and I'm sure he's changed a little bit, but there's all of these strategic paradiddle patterns that seem completely random, like nonsense. And then when you hear it played as intended, it's this long, beautiful phrase that, I get it.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But trying to learn note by note, like you said, I was literally going when I couldn't just fluidly get through it.
It's funny, man. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I have the same exact experience. Like, so I went through high school obviously with Tom and graduated, and at that time, the people that were very influential for me were all drum corps people, all guys that went through the cadets or whatever, and mostly the cadets, I would say, because the year after I graduated, my senior year, I auditioned at the cadets, and at that time, Colin was still writing for them. So I was doing my senior year at Dartmouth, finishing up WGI, and then still auditioning for the cadets. So I was kind of learning that music at the same time I was finishing the show. And when I got in front of Colin's music for the first time, I was like, damn, I can't play this. I can't read it. It was so foreign to me, especially because he still handwrites, which was an art that I was never used to. It was so different. I struggled so much my first year in drum corps because I was out of my element so much, just like you were saying. It was kind of...
That's so interesting. I don't really hear this subject touched on in quite this way relative to somebody's style or like general aesthetic. Because I think a couple things popped into mind. Like one, if I ever have to sing melodies that I didn't write, that happens.
Yep.
Because it's like the way words are fit into melodies and certain interval jumps that are in places that you're not used to.
Right.
And then I remember I took one lesson with Chad Wackerman. And when I went in there, I think it was maybe a year out of high school or something. I went in and he's like, let's do like groupings of 5 and work on this. And it was, I'd come out of playing with you and I felt really comfortable and confident in my hands and stuff. And the pattern he had me play was right, left, right, right, left for 5s. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it felt so awkward. I couldn't do it. And I was like, he's going to think I'm a complete idiot. Because I was used to going right, left, left. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Change it to right, left.
I just think of it as bop, 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 bop.
Yeah,
right.
That's
Yeah.
actually what
Leading.
fixed me. Once I
Right.
thought
The
of
leading
that,
hand,
I was
yeah.
like, it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
But at first, like with him watching me, I was like, eh. And it's just sort of this different language. And that's the way he always plays 5s.
Interesting.
But
I was thinking
Yeah.
about I was just watching a video of Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits.
is the one with the acoustic guitar where he's just standing there? No, anyways, go.
No, it was just Sultans of Swing.
Oh, okay.
It just something that is so natural for him. He just plays it like it's just rolling out. It's for someone else to try to learn that.
Yep.
I mean, it's a completely different language on guitar, and it is the same thing.
Yeah.
That's really the same. The other thing I thought of was there was a song that had a kind of an intricate, but I thought pretty simple fingerstyle thing. It was like da-do-do, 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 kind of in 3s. And another producer ended up producing the song, and this legendary session guy on guitar had to play it, and he had me send him the stems. He's like, I can't figure it out. And what he said was, everybody's fingerstyle playing is like completely different.
Yeah.
It's super idiosyncratic. You have your own little habits and ways patterns you do that it's impossible to just.
But the ability is still there, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how different it is, and it's like I could play flams, or we could do the fingering and whatever it is on the guitar, but it's like how their style is influencing it is you're not used to it.
Yeah, there's
But
like
your
this
ability is
foundation
there.
of patterns.
Yeah.
And then there's the thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's weird. Anyways.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is also curious to get your take on this, but coming out of that program, being trained, I mean, just saturated in that very unique, as far as we are concerned on the West Coast, a very unique East Coast style, which is Tom. And then you ended up at Cadets, but in your experiences out here or anywhere else, you said you lived in Ohio.
Yep.
And you did indoor?
I did indoor. Yeah, so I did Rhythm X for 2 years.
Right.
So then that was kind of fast forwarding a little bit. So I did 2 years at Cadets, and then I left and then went to Crown, because there was a guy that was teaching, my friend Dean, who was a quad tech, who was a killer quad player at Blue Devils, lives in Ohio, March Rhythm X, and was teaching at Crown. So I wanted to follow him there. I wanted to be a student of his. So went to Crown, and I think it was my first year or second year there, kind of in between, I started doing Rhythm X. So I got that experience in WGI at a world-class level. And again, very, very different style from what I was used to with Tim and Andrew, and their style of writing and their approach to rehearsal was very different from, being with Tom.
We've heard that.
Yeah. And it's not, I'm not casting opinion. I had a great experience. I had an awesome time there. I loved everything
I think
they did.
that's probably a group that has the most fun
Yeah.
with this thing.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
And it was but at the same time, it was so honed in. Like when I started marching there, it was at the time they were like, all right, we're gonna get this thing dialed in, right? So we're gonna still have fun, but we're gonna be here on time. Which was coming from my cadet experience. I was like, rehearsals 5 minutes ago, we're here now, So, but I still, the overall experience was different for me coming from Cadets and then Crown, and it was just kind of another
Because they're
experience.
just less about blatant fun, or what?
I wouldn't say that. It's just the overall vibe or the overall feel is obviously innately different because it's WGI. So you have only the weekends. So then the week is on your thing. Are you practicing all the time, or are you working, or are you teaching? And at the drum corps level, it's like, all right, well, you're present, you can't go anywhere, and we're going to control your time and when you eat and everything you do. So it's like that's built in. So
I would think
that
too.
Prison feel.
Yeah.
I would think that at least my understanding, I've never actually seen it happen, but that Rhythm X is a very designed through process and discovery.
Yeah.
And they seem to start with a lot of clay and then kind of whittle it down, where I think Cadets, at least my understanding, is more of a blueprint structured.
It's probably a really good assessment. Actually, a really good way to describe that process, because you're right. And I think that's part of what helped me grow when I went to Rhythm X, because it was a very different style of teaching and learning, I guess, on my part, was very organic, I would say. Like you're saying, like more clay, and then it's kind of morphing into what it's going to be at the end. I mean, I remember even up to like finals night, they were like, oh, we're going to change this, we're going to tweak this, and you got to just buy in. And you're like, okay, we're doing this. It's different. Remember, all right, it's different. Yeah. And that, putting that pressure and asking the students to kind of be professional enough to be up to that level kind of really helped me grow a lot. And that's when I realized it doesn't always have to be perfect. You can change it, and then you've got to be perfect when the time counts, kind of thing.
So you had to be a little bit more on your toes and willing to turn on a dime? Right,
I would say.
And what would, using that same metaphor, how would you describe where Broken City sits?
Ooh.
Is there clay involved?
Oh yeah, there's lots of clay. It's certainly there's certainly a lot of design and through discovery.
Yeah.
And
it's more like feeling around in the dark.
Yeah, and then bringing back the point, don't plan kind of mantra. I get the feeling that there's a lot more. I think Rhythm X actually does this. Again, this is just as an outsider from what I've heard and from what I understand. They approach maybe the way Broken City approaches visual. I think Rhythm X approaches music. I've heard that they do a lot of things on the fly musically, which is super interesting. And you know, we'll do like novelty things like that, but the music is, I would say, is pretty heavily composed on our end.
Yeah.
But it's in pencil, if you know. So we get it out on the floor, and it's like that's out, that's out, that's changing. Yeah. But the process, like the initial, like here's this stuff that we're gonna do, is composed, and the visual portion is very through discovery. But my understanding is that Rhythm X has that approach with the music itself at times, maybe not all the time, which has always been fascinating to me. I love that they have the courage and they embrace risk on every level.
So on a rehearsal level, are they literally saying, okay, don't play that, play this on this bar, like literally rewriting something?
Sometimes,
in a big chunk?
At least when I was there, my experience, sometimes, Sometimes,
That's cool.
We would have the music and we would practice, and, little things like tenors are always like changing things. So tenor players would be like, hey, let's change this around on the fly. But then, sometimes Tim would come in and say, hey, I kind of have this other thing, let's try this. And it would turn into a session of kind of call and repeat. So he would play something, and then I remember one time he came in my first year in the turning line. He was like, I don't like the way that sounds. And it was an ensemble rehearsal, and we were just like, all right. And so he started playing, and we started doing the rounds, and he was like, why don't we step outside, kind of thing. So then the rest of the ensemble kept going, and the turning line went outside, and we changed the tenor feature. And then I remember, this is really funny. I remember my first year, obviously, so I'm like nervous. I just want to fit in. I want to do everything right, coming from that cadet mentality.
Yeah.
And we come back in, and he's like, all right, let's play it in front of everybody. And we had just learned it, and I was like, oh, no, come on. So the whole turning line's just trying not to break, and it just sounded so bad because everyone's so nervous. But it was like that experience for me, I remember auditioning. They did American Idol style. They would have one person on the stage in front of everybody that was auditioning.
Whoa!
And you would play a roll open to slow to fast to really fast to kind of fast to open again. And they'd be like, "All right, thank you, next."
Whoa!
And I had never experienced anything like that. I was super nervous, but that kind of experience, those kinds of things, like changing music on the fly, and they kind of build it into their culture. I would say, and at least for me, it helped me grow a lot as a performer, as a player. You know, it was cool experience.
It's so interesting to see the personality of whoever's running the program.
Trickle down.
Yeah, and it just sounds like Tim, you know. It's just, and it's so cool, and that's happening obviously with every ensemble in the activity. And you know, we were talking about Tom earlier, same thing, like that personality, and then Colin coming in and making it his own thing. And,
big time.
It's interesting. Like there's definitely no right way to do it, no wrong way to do it.
It's kind of like a band, you know, like you get these weird combination of people and it just kind of magically comes together. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
We got Ringo over here and Paul.
Yeah. Now you imagine somebody telling Mark Knopfler that he's playing guitar wrong. Right. We never have all that crazy finger picking.
And I think you get such an interesting result when you approach anything creative and artistic with that willingness to change on the fly.
Oh, yeah.
Both ways are completely valid, like having a vision for it, meticulously working it out and then presenting it, but also that's my favorite way to write songs and record, is to integrate those processes to the point where I can always kind of go, you know, change a lyric as I'm recording the song and change the melody and like switch everything around. And even just in, like I was showing you that knife that I made.
Yeah.
Like, I never design anything. I just kind of go, I want this general object, and then I kind of go towards it, and then I make a mistake, and then I integrate the mistake into the final product, and which is kind of like the way you do your visual stuff. You're able to like kind of see
the mistakes integrated.
But just being able to see it kind of in the process of being formed, instead of using a program or envisioning it, you're like seeing the bodies do it.
Right. I think embracing like whoever you are and just running with it and double down on what you are and how you think, and that's what works for me. And I was just listening to a Geddy Lee interview, which is super interesting, and he was talking about there was one album where they went into the studio and decided to write the songs in the studio rather than prepare and rehearse and then show up and record.
Right.
He says it's a huge mistake.
Oh, really?
Huge mistake.
For them.
Yeah, and they would never do it again. Yeah.
Was it a recent album?
I don't know. I don't remember. I have to go back and listen to it. But just it stuck with me like that's them. Like Rush shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I definitely am not the kind of person that can construct a blueprint and then have the foreman build it.
Yeah.
Like I got to get in there and move stuff around and, like you said, make those mistakes. But I think when each ensemble doubles down on their own personality, I think just the magic happens.
Yeah.
Kind of the key to life across the board, huh?
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too, thinking of another parallel. You know, my wife teaches yoga and she teaches spin, and she's super into that world, the health and fitness, but in particular the yoga thing. And you know, she was just talking with friends. We were out for dinner the other night, and she left this one place that she had been teaching at for a while, and you know, schedule conflicts or whatever. It was nothing bad, but she kind of just stopped teaching there. And her thing was like, they're so structured. Like managers would go in and take her class and be like, well, you missed that one count on the, like, we kind of do it like this. Like it's very formatted. Yeah. And in yoga, it's like, dude, like this is calling for me right now in yoga, right? It's like, this is what it needs to have, you know, it's that kind of thing. And they were like, well, this is their structure, right? And it kind of goes back to like, well, it's 4 bars, not 5. I need the last bar to do this, whatever, this moment, right? Mm-hmm. So she left, and she's gonna look for other places that allow more creativity and allow more flow. And I thought it was kind of relatable. It's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, totally. It reminds me too. The other day, I was trying to think of a gift for my dad for Christmas, and I was just blanking. You know, it happens. When you get old enough, you're like...
Dads are tough.
Dads, yeah, they buy whatever they want, and then whatever you get them, they probably don't even want. So I was like, I'm going to buy him a project. So like, I had a bunch of like old like teak. So I was like, I'm going to cut this up ready for him, and give him some pieces of teak and say, build whatever you want, or I have an idea if you want. Like I inherited this old antique Derringer pistol from my grandma. Grandma was like into guns.
Wow.
And it's like, you could build like a cool like wall case for this or something.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, that sounds cool. Then at first he's like, I don't want to do it. And then 4 hours later, he's like, I've been thinking about it.
You planted the seed.
Yeah. So the background of my dad is he's a nuclear refinery engineer. So retired. So those kind of things, like I knew if I planted that seed, it would go like tss and turn into something.
Yeah.
So I figured he would take the wood and just kind of think of something and start cutting it like I do. And by nighttime, he came in with a printed out CAD drawing. It's like perfectly, it was like at an angle and like all worked out. I know, right? Complete opposite. It was just hilarious. So that was his process. Cool. He wasn't going to cut a piece of wood until he had every dimension perfectly worked out so that he knew it would work.
That's his process.
Yeah.
That's totally cool.
Completely different. At first, I had like handed him a problem. Like, Merry Christmas, here's a problem.
And it's better than getting somebody an errand.
Yeah, it's true.
Exchange this.
Yeah.
Return this.
Exactly. So here's a question. I'm always fascinated by drummers who love drumming and are super into it, and who don't. Do you play drum set?
I don't.
Okay,
I want to play more. I probably. I wish I would have done more in high school. I wasn't in like the jazz band or anything.
What kept
like
you
that.
from doing it? Were you just drawn to the rudimental?
The rudimental thing. I was so focused on. I was hyper focused because, like I was saying, a lot of guys that were teaching me had gone through the cadets and had done the drum corps thing, and that's just that kind of. I was captivated me. I was so enamored with that and wanting to be those guys, and I wanted to do that. So I told myself the only way to do that is to focus on the rudimental stuff. And
That's cool.
Yeah, I kind of looking back on it, reflecting on that time, I kind of regret it a lot.
Really?
Because I wasn't helping myself become a better overall musician. I was kind of just becoming a good drummer. Right. And like a rudimental drummer. And I know you can look at it a lot of different ways. Like, yeah, but, I had a lot of cool experiences or afforded a lot of great experiences because of it. But, I always wished I had more of a better rounded musicality about myself when I graduated high school and went on. Although I didn't end up studying music, would have been nice to know how to, play marimba a little bit or play more drum set.
Is that
or that
not
sort of
part
thing.
of the curriculum?
It is. It's funny because it is. His whole thing, and this goes back to the traditional versus match grip, right? He teaches on match grip because it's more applicable to play other instruments. So we have, Tom's had kids through the years that were the center marimba, and then we're like, oh, I want to go play tenor drums. Okay, well, literally they would do that, and that's kind of the thought process behind that. So it is kind of incorporated into the curriculum to play other instruments and play more things, but he sees your strengths and he'll put you on what you're comfortable with and to help you kind of grow with your strengths, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. I don't remember that transition because obviously I grew up playing match grip and had, I don't know, a good 4 or 5 years behind me. And then actually more than that before I played snare. So traditional was like, there must have been a really weird period. I don't know if you remember it. I doubt you do. Where I just completely sucked at it, but
I remember.
You're giving me a face. What is it?
I can't hide anything.
Is it Breakfast?
That's funny.
I had a nickname.
Yeah.
Whenever I broke, I just would break really quickly and get back.
And get back.
I'd try to hide it.
Yeah,
Call me Breakfast. Breakfast.
Huh? No, you always would play. I can't believe I remember this. Whenever we had like a triple beat, like you would always play it like you were on drum set. It would be you'd always accent the last note, and I'd cut Adam. I always felt like that meant strength. Like the third one is not the weakest, it's the strongest.
Yeah, right.
That's a different exercise. Yeah, you'd always put a groove in there, like Yeah, you'd always have that scoop. That was funny.
A zillion years ago. So, what was it about the drumming of like the drum corps world that drew you? Because most drummers are drawn to drum set.
Right.
Was it the team mentality of it, or was it the overall like holy crapness? I want to be a part of that, or
I think at the beginning it was more that just being so excited by. I went to see a drum corps for the first time in 7th or 8th grade or sometime in middle school, and just seeing that I was so captivated. I was like, oh my god, that's totally cool.
It's like seeing a killer
goal.
band. You're just
right.
like, I want to be a part of that.
That's what I want to do.
Which instrument? Yeah.
And I didn't even think about the little steps to get there. I was like, this is just what I want to do. I'm gonna keep working.
So cool.
Do what I'm told by Tom to get there. Kind of thing. Really is like, So I think that's sort of what it was. And then
that was it in 4th grade, or was it that later?
So I started learning percussion in 4th grade with Tom, but yeah, I didn't see a drum corps until like middle school, like 8th grade, maybe 9th grade.
You were drawn to drums before that, but it didn't get like
right. I think when you said earlier, most kids are into drum set or start with drum set. I can't remember how you worded it, but
just because pop music is so prevalent, you just kind of see it.
I don't think that's the case. Like, because I will have at least one instance every season where I'll just kind of poll the group and say, how many people here play drum set? And it's usually like maybe 2 or 3 out of 20 or 30.
But if you were to poll the entire U.S. of drummers, it'd be more drum set than not. But
right, but I've found that it's
become a
pretty small percentage of the marching arts drummers consider themselves drum set players.
That's fascinating. It must be that. Well, here's a theory that drum corps and marching arts appeals more to a primal style of drumming, and it's almost like drum set is a more, even though it's maybe there are more drum set players in America, let's say, than marching artists, but there's something kind of more primal and like I'm just playing with my hands and it's part of this big thing. We're all together. It's
also
it's music as a team sport.
Exactly.
It's
so interesting.
Soccer versus bowling
or boxing. Yeah.
Golf,
boxing.
You're hitting things at least.
Yeah.
No, but it is a good point. I wasn't drawn to the rudimental drumming really to be like the world's fastest rudimental flam drum player or whatever. It was more of like, okay, the goal is to march drum corps, and I see this great thing happening, this sort of team camaraderie and family aspect of it. And I think looking back at it, I think that's what I was really drawn to, was becoming as good a member for the corps as I could be.
Oh, that's cool.
And I wasn't so focused on, obviously in high school I was hyper focused on, like you were saying, the third beat is not accented. Can we get this figured out? Like, I was super that person. I was super hyper focused into being that. And as I got through, I realized it was more about the betterment of the whole group. I wanted to be a better member for the corps and wherever I was at. So kind of became more about that for me.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but Tom Aungst, he plays drum set.
Oh yeah.
I heard that he's really
drum set degree,
like super swing.
Yep.
Like jazz drummer.
Yeah, it's funny,
so
man.
He doesn't play for the students, or
he does actually. He doesn't. I don't think it really brushed off on me. It brushed off on some other students, like my buddy Jeremy I was talking about earlier. His dad came to the NAMM show. He's a drum set player because Tom, he went through the same program with me through Dartmouth, and he played in the jazz group and he did the concert band stuff, and he was picked to play drum set, so that kind of brushed off on him. But it's funny, I just, this image popped into my head when you said this, Tom doesn't play for the group at all. So, like the middle school band concert, you'll see all the little middle school kids on the stage and they'll be pecking away and their bells or whatever, and there's Tom in the back, like laying down the groove for the whole band. Like,
how have these videos never surfaced?
That's awesome.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So I need to see that.
I know, it would be good to get that out.
You need to play for everybody.
Oh, yeah, I do. Just to keep them in time, though. All I need is one stick.
Yeah.
2 and 4. I picture like the Harry Potter thing, like with the whole Dartmouth mystique of who gets chosen. Who gets chosen to play drum set or tenors or ends up on marimba. Like you put the hat on.
It is a little bit of that.
Tom's hat tells you.
You get knighted.
You're in that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, which house you belong to, and
it is that. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny. I was talking about it earlier, but he picks the kids like pretty early on. he has
sees their strengths.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he sees
Sends
what
you
we're
home
saying
for
is,
Christmas.
yeah, you're not really cutting it. We're gonna get rid. No, he sees their strengths and what they're gonna be good at, and he'll say it to this day. You know, he'll have kids in 6th, 7th grade, and he'll say, yeah, they're gonna be my tenor player in high school, or they're gonna be my marimba player in high school, and he has it all mapped out like a 5-year plan, like down the road. He knows, yeah.
There must be something he's seeing in them.
He's been doing it for a while, man. He's got it figured out.
Got the voodoo.
Yeah.
You had a
The
group,
mojo
right,
and
where
the
you
voodoo.
were teaching the middle school into high school, right?
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, you're still doing it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've re-upped. I was gone for a while.
What groups are they?
It's Warm Springs feeds Vista Murrieta.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm down there. I've got a team of people down there.
Right.
I show up mainly for staging purposes, and I handle just the organization as far as what they're playing, like set design, etc., curriculum, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a special thing.
I definitely see why. I mean, that's like Tom's career. That's his thing. Is that he is the guy for the district. Starts him in 4th grade and takes him. It's absolutely a full-time job. I don't know how he did cadets
on
all
top
those
of it all.
years
Yeah,
at such a high level.
Yeah.
And then managed all that.
Yeah.
And of course, home life and all that balance.
All that stuff too. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's the city of Dartmouth is definitely lucky to have him there, I would say, for sure. And obviously everybody, he's so welcoming. Like when I graduated and I still wanted to be a part of it, it was like, yeah, I kind of like doing this teaching thing. He was like, well, come back and teach, come out back and help out. And because I had done the drum corps over the summer, and he's all about keeping it going and bringing people in. And like you're saying, you have your team. It's like, okay, you get the right people, but you're open to people coming back and wanting to do more and help out. And
does it feel like a family in a sense?
I would say, yeah. It's kind of like a weird family where people like leave but then come back. And
was Larrabee there when you were there?
Yeah, he was. He was writing the pit stuff when I was.
How did he feel about Tom taking marimba players and putting them on stage?
I think the year that happened, Neil was not writing actually, but yeah, that's a good point.
It wouldn't have happened.
No.
Well, two guys from Boston. Just you can imagine the rest.
Yeah.
So how now working at Yamaha, do you balance playing, teaching? Is Yamaha full time now?
Mike could tell you. Yeah, I don't. It's been kind of full time for me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say kind of. It is full time for me. I really, I've only been with the company about 2.5 years. So for me, it's
you're just focusing,
just nose to the grindstone. Want to make my name and try to do more and grow in the company. And that's for me. That it goes back to the drum corps roots. It's like, all right, I got to figure this out. I got to be comfortable and hone this in and kind of excel forward. So I've tried and now I've tried to kind of dabble and get back into it.
Really?
When I approached Mike and tried to help out with the Broken City some more
just
when I can.
A little bit of teching type stuff here and there?
A little bit here and there, and not as much as I would like to. I'm sorry. But, just trying to get back in.
Maybe like half a dozen rehearsals last year?
Maybe, yeah.
We have a full staff, so
right.
Helping out when you can.
Yeah.
I think
that's cool.
The cool thing just about like where you come from, where you are now, and everything you're doing is the perspective. Because often we're always talking about the struggling or starving artist types. Like comes up a lot. That whole concept, that type of person.
Sure.
But I'm always fascinated by someone who's so into the activity, but like yourself, doesn't major in music, and chooses a business career. Yeah. And then looking back, I'm curious, like if you can just speak on like what this whole weird universe of marching percussion, like what it's done for you, the benefits for it. Because, if I'm a young person, listening to this, hey, I might not know what my path is or what I want to be doing. And I've always thought that it can be a disservice to try to push kids into being music majors. And no, you gotta do music, and you gotta do something in education.
Right.
I'd hate to set up a kid to not be following his own path, or basically, you don't want to prepare a kid to be unemployed, basically, because those people that major in music and like, hey, I'm going to be a performance major, and that has to be in your soul, and you have to. This is a little Dave Grohl quote, but like you shouldn't want anything back from it.
Yeah,
like there's no payoff. You know what I mean?
Which is
that's a very unique type of person. You know?
But yeah, and it's easy to say that too when you're from a perspective that you don't need to ask for things, right? Like Dave Grohl, it's like, okay, he's in a pretty good situation, right? And I'm not saying that he's not right. I'm just saying, for students like you're mentioning performance majors, so these kids are they're doing a 4-year degree and then they're doing a master's on top of that. So you're talking 5-6 years of school that they're hyper focusing on performance and honing in their talents and whether they're playing bassoon or they're playing percussion or whatever. And a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but the few conversations I've had with students, friends of mine, whoever that have gone through performance majors, they don't have the foundation to be like business sensible, right? So they're so hyper focused on playing, but at the end of the day, you have to have a livelihood doing it, right? I wouldn't say it's a sad truth, but it's the truth. You've got to be able to afford to do these things that you want to do, right? You've got to have a livelihood, and a lot of them, they don't know how to have a business type of conversation with somebody. Hey, I need time to record, or how do I negotiate, or how do I talk, or how do I sell an album or a CD? How do I promote myself? Those sorts of things. So, it can be tough for those students a lot of times, but
it's not a mandatory pathway.
No, certainly not.
And so much of that comes down to temperament too. The artist's temperament is so the opposite of the organized businessman's temperament.
Oh yeah.
Even just in looking at the big five aspects, it's like people who are highly open. Trait openness is like all about creativity and being open-minded, and it's often, if you're high in that, you're low in conscientiousness, which is like basically getting stuff done, being industrious, like showing up on time.
Oh yeah.
Nailing it.
What's funny, like I know a few friends that they're totally that person. Like my cousin is the total creative. Like he's just gonna go with the wind and do and make killer content and do what he does. But at the same time, his girlfriend is like a nurse. And she's like, no, this is this time, we have to be here. So it's like he tethered himself because subconsciously he knows that he needs that, right?
Totally.
Like,
opposites attract.
Yeah, man.
And that's why a great artist needs a great manager who's the opposite personality and temperament. But so to get back to your original question, though, like what do you feel like the activity kind of brought to you as a person, I guess, that enhanced or dehanced? Is that a word?
Yeah, like what is, let's say, I'm a parent and I have a 14-year-old freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Why should my kid get involved in this weird universe?
It's a really good question, and I think the obvious thing that a lot of parents look to when the kid goes to school is, oh, my kid, maybe they'll play sports or maybe they'll get involved with something. And I think, at least in my experience in high school, a lot of parents are so tunnel visioned and just saying, yeah, the football team or the basketball team, which are all great things in their own regard. Don't get me wrong. I love basketball. I play basketball every week. But the band and being involved in music just opens up a lot of different doors, I would say. And it's such a different experience than being on the football team where you might stand on the sideline for 3 years. Yeah, you're going to get a good work ethic, but it's not the same as being in the marching band. In my experience, Tom would always say, everyone's got to be the center snare, right? And in our language, it's like the center snare is like the person in charge. Everyone's got to own, their own roadmap, their drill, their music. You've got to own everything. You're on the spotlight.
Like, what's the quote from the Jocko Willenick? We were just talking about that. That's the other guy I do the podcast with.
The guy that doesn't have Parkinson's or whatever.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
Can't even think of the right word.
Anyway, yeah. It reminded me of a Jocko quote.
Everyone's got to be the same snare.
And when you combine that team thing with an artistic endeavor too, it's like something so unique about that. Something
magic.
that's athletic,
Extreme accountability. I think that's what it is. Extreme accountability.
Mixed with self-expression, mixed with expressing some other thing, like somebody else's music, putting yourself into it. Very different than a sport. There's lots of great things you get out of sports, but
absolutely.
What do you feel like you take into it, even in your job in Yamaha? I guess you have a connection to the products, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, big time.
That's intense.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, so the connection is, for me, really unique because when I was going through drum corps, I played on Yamaha. The groups I was with are all Yamaha groups, so I was very familiar with the people at Yamaha, Joel Tetzlaff in particular. And when he would come out, he would look at the gear and he was so, into the product. And I was like, man, that's really cool. Like, what do you do? And it's like, well, I do lots of things. I do pretty much what I'm doing now. And so the connection is pretty special to the product, and it is pretty cool. But yeah, get involved in music.
Do music.
Do music.
All right, I have 3 questions for you. We're going to wrap this thing up.
Okay.
3 favorite songs. Go.
Oh my God. I can't.
You have to.
3 favorite songs of all time.
3 favorite songs if you just had to pick them right now on a podcast.
I've been liking a lot of hip hop.
Ooh, so give them to me. Artists even. You can go artists.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
I like Drake. I'm sorry.
You're not the only one.
And I like The Weeknd too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's hip hop influenced, right?
Yeah.
Pre-popularity?
Yes, pre-popularity.
Those albums are killer.
Do you know that Jay-Z does?
First
I'm
two
sure you
albums.
probably do know. He doesn't write anything down. It's all in his head.
Does he really?
Goes in the studio, no piece of paper, everything memorized.
Jay-Z.
Yeah. There's some YouTube videos of it.
Really?
Yeah, and then he'll rewrite in his head. It's all like in there.
Yeah.
Intense.
I'm gonna look that up. But I want, because that pre-popularity Weekend, I can't find the album, but
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 3 favorite movies. Go.
boy, 3 favorite movies.
High School Musical 1, 2, and 3.
I don't know. I always like Forrest Gump was a really good movie.
That's one of my top 3.
Yeah. Inception has got to be in there somewhere. And then there's got to be a movie that, like, when it comes on, it's like, yep, I'm watching it. Oh, it's probably like the Santa Claus one, the original one, Tim Allen.
I haven't even seen that. Is it great?
I know it's like a Christmas movie, but it's just like classic, man. Like that comes on, it's like me and my sister, we know every word to that movie.
Hits you where.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mike, 3 favorite movies?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like these things say a lot about a person.
Uh-oh.
Anything by Wes Anderson? I really like the Grand Budapest
Hotel, that one?
Yeah, that's
I haven't seen that yet. I got to see
that's
it.
in there. I always default to 2001: Space Odyssey.
Ooh.
Yeah,
What
and
a
then
guess.
I don't know what would be next. Something I would watch no matter what if it's on. So it's like kind of a car chase movie, but there's something about it I love, and it's Ronin.
Yeah, it's a
Familiar with that one?
great movie. Yeah.
It's just where it was based. It's possibly I have a little nostalgia because there are a lot of scenes were shot right where I was living when I was in Paris drumming for David Halliday. But
That's a cool one.
But yeah, so I saw the neighborhoods. I'm like, that's right. I know where that is.
Yeah.
And there's a little connection, and Audi S8 can't go wrong.
Yep.
That's cool.
Those car chase scenes are amazing.
Yep.
Shawshank, Braveheart, maybe Road to Perdition, but maybe Crumb, the documentary. It's amazing.
What?
Crumb?
I haven't seen that.
Never seen it? Robert Crumb, the guy did, I think it was Where's... He did Keep on Trucking, that classic.
Oh, I think I have seen that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
He comes from an insane family. They were all
Yeah.
abused.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant cartoonist, satire.
Like, at least 10 years old though, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Great film, though.
Yeah.
All right, last question is, if you had to get eaten and killed by an animal, what animal?
I don't know.
How do you want to go down, man?
Quick,
Quick? Okay. What would that be?
like a tiger. Just go for my throat. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. Tiger.
Like
Beng-
a lion
Bengal
or
tiger.
something.
You've already answered this, but go again. What's
What did I
today's
say?
animal?
I don't remember. What did I say?
Shark. No.
Polar bear? Just take me out.
yeah,
one
that's
slap.
rough.
Boom. Done.
I think it'd be pretty fun to get bitten in half by a hippopotamus.
Nah.
Just to kind of see my torso
I mean,
over there.
crushed in half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
true.
but
They
you
only
might
have like 3
survive
teeth.
that.
Pinched in half.
That's true. They have those like just
Yeah.
couple snaggletooth.
What's that other
Teeth.
Leo movie where he fights the bear?
Oh. I can't
Oh
think of
yeah,
it.
Revenant.
Revenant.
Ah.
Good. Something we could think of.
Yeah.
Worse.
That attack is crazy.
But he survives it.
Supposedly. All right, that's a good. Let's end on death.
There it is. We have no questions this week.
No, I didn't shoot out
we
the.
didn't prepare.
I didn't-
Oh, we had
Next
some
time,
good ones.
next time we'll answer questions.
yeah, that's why I made up a few.
No.
All right.
It's good. Paul, great to have you, man.
Great to be here. Thank you.
It's cool.
Thank you so
Mike,
much.
really nice meeting you, man. Good night and good morning.
I can't stand the way I'm making promises I can't keep.